Me, Francisca Aguayo, coming to you live in a living color. I am here. It is the Mind Your Mind workshop. It's Monday. And guess what? Today we're going to come to you live and we are going to just discuss what is it that we're up to. So from the workshop, we have grown into taking on a mastermind class. So in the workshop, we discuss systems, we discuss tools and techniques, mindset growth. And one of the things that we really want to jump in, and we're going to do a whole separate thing from the Mind Your Mind workshop, it's going to be a mastermind. So it's based on the book of the 15 Invaluable Laws of Growth, John C. Maxwell, my mentor. I'm actually certified to be able to teach his work. So the mastermind is not a book club. It is based on the book, but it is a mastermind, meaning people who are like-minded are going to come together and not just read a book, but do the work. Now, I want to share with you guys tonight a little snippet of one of the laws that we will be getting into as we do the mastermind. So there's 15 laws, and it is a 10-week course. And this mastermind is going to be once a week for 1 hour. And then during the week, we have a private group where we can chat and we can actually take what we learned in the group from each other and go to work during the week on those skills. So it's a mastermind where you get to pick other people's brains, brainstorm more ideas, and then you go to work and doing it during the week. And then you get back to come back and discuss that with your colleagues and also discuss the next law. So the law that we're going to get into today is the first law, and it's an amazing law. It's the best way to start. Growth is the law of intentionality. So the law of intentionality means what? Growth doesn't just happen. I want to elaborate a little bit on that. Growth does not just happen, right? We do get older, but just because we get older in age doesn't mean that we grow, that we mature, right? So a great example I always like to give about myself is I never learned how to ride a bike, right? So as an adult, my husband asked me, let's go bike riding. And he was like, yeah, we're going to buy bikes. We're going to go to the trail. We're going to go to the state park. And I'm looking at him like, I don't know how to ride a bike. And he's like, how do you not know how to ride a bike, right? And it's like the same way I say, how do you think, why do everyone thinks that everyone should know how to ride a bike or tie their shoes just because they're an adult, right? If no one took the time to teach you how to tie your shoes or how to ride a bike, you can possibly grow into an adult and never know these things because it's an intentionality. Someone had to intentionally, or you had to intentionally want to learn how to tie your shoes or want to learn how to ride a bike so that you would have put that intentionality and you would have been able to grow. But it doesn't just happen. A flower, even that, produce, farming, that still has to be intentional. You got to be intentional how you grow, how you dig the land, how you put the seed in. If it gets, the roots have to come out first. There's a process to it, right? So personal growth is not a natural process in most people's lives. It's not natural, right? So in the law of intentionality, we're going to go through something that they call growth traps. And this is why I love about the mastermind, because these growth traps, they are so common that most people think it's only them until they get into a mastermind group and they realize it's not just me. And that just does something to your empowerment. It does something to make you feel less alone. Makes you feel like you're not crazy. Like for me, I'm like, oh, I'm not crazy. I get that. You too. And it gives you that sense of it's okay to get over and grow through it, right? So the assumption gap is gap number one. I assume that I will automatically grow. That's the first one, right? The assumption gap. So there's a gap because if we're assuming that we will automatically grow, then you're not doing nothing intentionally to grow, meaning you're not purchasing the books, you're not purchasing the course, you're not reading, you're not YouTubing that channel, you're not following those people. It's not intentional. It just because we have a dream or an idea doesn't mean that it just was going to come to pass, right? Automatically, because we're wishing on a star. It doesn't work that way, right? So that's one of the growth gap traps, right? And then another trap is The knowledge gap. This is a big trap. I don't know how to grow. I don't know how to grow. I don't know how to be an entrepreneur. I don't know how to be a real estate agent. I don't know how to be a CEO. I don't know how to be a coach. I don't know how to be a mom, right? And that knowledge gap is a trap, because I'm gonna help you with that. Instead of saying I don't know how to grow or I don't know how to do something, what that used to stop me as well. What I learned with this law was that I can experience the possibility of I get to practice a new skill. I get to learn. So now I'm no longer like upset or fearful of it because I don't know how makes me feel less than. But if I say I get to learn how, it's almost like I get excited. I get to do this. I get to learn it. I get to practice it. I get to master it. That's why it's called the mastermind, right? And after I master it, it's it. It's a wrap. It's mine, right? I could take ownership onto it. The third trap is the timing gap. Like that's a trap when we say we don't have enough time. We all have 24 hours in a day. And I always used to say Obama back in the days when he was a president. You ain't got more work to do than Obama. If you don't got more work to do than the president of the United States, then you have enough time to do anything that you want to do, right? It's the intentionality, right? It's the purpose. You are saying that I am going to grow no matter what. There's no excuse. I have time. So the time trap, right? That's a gap. That's a trap. It's not the right time to begin. I remember hearing this a lot when students were saying I wanted to go back to school. Young adults, they were single moms, and I want to go back to school, but it's not the right time. The kids are little. And then when the kids grow up, it's still not the right time because they're teenagers. And it always just escalates. It's never the right time. There's not ever going to be a right time. It's us taking our ownership of our time. I run this. This is my life. My life don't run me. I say my schedule. If I say on my calendar, because that calendar runs me, that I set a time. I remember I did an exercise with my coach, and I love doing this exercise. We do it in the mastermind, where we actually look at our schedules. And I used to tell my coach, I'm overwhelmed with doing too much. I don't think I can do it. And we took it and broke it down. And when we looked at everything that I was complaining about that I didn't have enough time for, I had less than a 30-hour work week. And my coach said, wait a minute, when you were working a regular 9 to 5, didn't you work 40 hours a work week? I said, yeah. So now that you're an entrepreneur, 30 hours is too much? Mindset, right? And we learned some other tools and techniques that I would love to share with you in the workshop, but we don't got time to get into it. And I want to be able to go through all the laws just to gift this to you as the first law and the 15 invaluable laws of growth, right? The fourth law is the mistake gap. This one's a big one too. The mistake gap, that trap right there, that's a big trap. I am afraid of making mistakes. Let me tell you something. Do not be afraid of making mistakes. Failure is your friend. Because when we fail, air quotes, right, at something, we feel like we're a failure, right? That's a common average mind. But I want to invite you to not be commonly or average minded. I want to invite you that if you're watching this live, you have became to a uniquely extraordinary place, and we're not average. So we're not thinking average, right? So making a mistake is not going to disempower us. It's going to teach us. It's going to allow us to learn and get better. We're getting better and better each day. So that is the mistake gap. Do not be afraid to make mistakes. Trial and error. Trial and error. It's how everything got here. It's how this technology that we are communicating towards got here. It is how everything got here. It is how penicillin got here. It is how electricity got here. Trial and error. Do not be afraid to fail. Be afraid not to fail, and not to fail many times. Let that sink in. The fifth, I know this one very well. The perfection gap. That's the biggest trap of all, the perfectionism. And I hear people say it and take ownership. Even today, as I was in one of my sessions, I heard someone take ownership to being I am, and labeling themselves that I am a perfectionist. No, you're not. Don't say that. Don't say that. The perfectionist gap is I have to find the best way before I start. I want to invite you that the perfectionist gap is more like an excuse. It's more like a get out of jail free card when you're playing the game of Monopoly, right? That you give yourself in order not to do the work that you're afraid of. And you call it perfectionism. Let that sink in. The sixth law is the inspiration gap. Oh, this is a good one. Oh, I can get on the soapbox about this one for you. The inspiration gap. I don't feel like doing it. I got to sip on that one before I don't feel like. Honey child, it is so biblical. Right? We cannot let our flesh run us. What you feel got nothing to do with what you deserve to do, what you set to do, what goal, what bar, what task, what goal, whatever you want. Your feelings ain't got nothing to do with it. You put it on your calendar, and your calendar runs your life, not your feelings. Because if you allow your feelings to run your life, you will mismanage your life based on your feelings. You've ever been really, really upset for like 5 minutes and did something and said something, left a job, quit an ex, all based on a temporary feeling, and all those things were permanently damaging based on on a temporary feeling. You had permanent consequences. Yeah, no, you don't base it on your feelings if you feel inspiration or not. Because if you're waiting for someone to motivate you or to feel motivated, that doesn't happen. It's not a magical sprinkly feeling. No. We can create our own motivation. I can definitely go through that in the mastermind class, how we can create, right? You create it yourself, your own inspiration by practicing, by putting things into action. That creates a momentum that therefore by default will create that inspiration and that motivation. Once you do it once, have you ever done roller coasters? Right? If you ever got on a roller coaster, most people, when they get on a roller coaster the first time, they're afraid. You're like, oh my gosh. Or they jump right in the pool, they dive in the lake or something. And next thing you know, you want to, as soon as you get off that roller coaster the first time, you're like, oh, let's do it again, right? Momentum. You get this rush when you do something that you think is hard and you do it with peace, joy, and ease, that you're able to then flow. So then it gives you the energy to keep going and keep growing. Don't wait for inspiration and to feel like anything. Keep your word, your integrity. Man, I wish I had time to get into that. Your integrity, you're keeping your word to yourself. It's what disempowers you or empowers you. If you don't keep your word to yourself, if you don't show up for yourself at the gym like you said you were, if you don't show up for yourself in your finances like you said you were going to save, if you don't show up for your business when you said you're going to work on it after you get out of work but you think you're too tired, all those things, what you think that it's depression is really sometimes frustration because of your lack of integrity with your own self. You don't keep your word to yourself, and that takes away your power. So therefore, you cannot feel inspired, and you're waiting for someone else to inspire you, but it's just a cheap high. It's like a quick fix in the middle of the day. But it's a poor choice, and it gives you a crash, like a soda, energy drink, something like that, right? It's cheap. It gives you what you need for a minute, and then it causes more damage than good, right? So that's what that is like, and you want to really avoid that. The seventh, and then the one more, and we're done. The seventh, the law of intentionality has 8 growth traps and the growth gap traps. And the 7th growth gap trap is the comparison gap. That one is a big one, especially now with Insta and all that stuff, going on social medias. The comparison gap is others are better than I am. Ain't nobody better than anybody. We're just different, right? And you cannot compare your chapter 1 to someone's chapter 21. You use that as inspiration to move, touch, and inspire you, but never to put you down or disempower you. And number 8, the last growth gap trap, is the expectation gap. I thought it would be easier than this. I thought I would be further along than that. Those are traps where you are expecting more from yourself than giving yourself the grace to learn and to actually understand that this takes time and that you're worthy and having patience with yourself to learn and to implement the consistency. A lot of times we learn and we stop and we learn and we stop and we go and we stop. And like I tell a lot of my clients, if you're in a car and you're pressing reverse and you go back and then you press put it on drive and you go forward, just right to where you were at. So you're going forward and back, you're not going anywhere. Right? So if you start something and then you stop, and then you start it again and then you stop, that's going to disempower you as well. So having the expectation of, right, not that it would be easier than that, expect that it's not going to be easy or hard. How about we take that out of the equation? It's not easy and it's not hard. You can't base anything on if you ask somebody who went to law school, who really loved law, was that hard? They're probably going to tell you, no, I enjoyed it. It was easy peasy. But someone who doesn't, they're going to be like, man, that was the hardest thing I tried to do in my life. Right? So it's no easy and no hard. What there is intentionality. Right? Being intentional. That's why the law of intentionality is the first law. Being intentional of growing in what you want to study and what you want to adventure on, what you want to, master. That's why the mastermind class is so important, because all these laws help you on your growth path to mastery of anything, whatever it is that you want to master: sales, education, your relationship, your spirituality, right? Anything that you want to focus on, you will grow the consistency in. You will eventually master and be able to teach others, right? Not just retain, also put out. So that is, my friends, the law of intentionality, one of the first law of the 15 invaluable laws of growth. And there's so much more with these goodies handouts. There's assessments, there's questions, there's discussion. So I really want to invite you to hit the website up for thanksform.com/mind and register for the 15 Laws of Growth Mastermind classes coming up in August. And you really want to start that class in the fall, right? Sort of the new season coming up. It can be a new season in your life, in your mindset, in your spirituality, in your growth, in your financial status. Whatever it is that you want to be intentional about, you're going to be able to grow that thing. Come on, let's go, somebody. Preparation is growth. So preparation, right? Growth plus attitude, that's character, plus opportunity, plus action, doing something about it, equals luck, right? And it's funny because it's not luck. A lot of people say, oh, you're so successful. Oh, I want to be successful. Oh, you're so lucky. And really, luck don't have nothing to do with it. It was just the formula. Preparation, which is growth, right? Attitude, character, working on the character, working on your patience, your grace, your love, your kindness, your meekness, all that character. Opportunity. A lot of times we want opportunity, but we don't know what to do with it. You get a good ball and then you fumble, right? It's not only having the opportunity, it's actually being prepared for the opportunity. Once you're prepared, when opportunities come, you're gonna nothing to worry about. I had an opportunity not too long ago come up, and they were like, oh, we want to give you about a week to prepare. I was like, I don't need a week to prepare. I'm prepared. I can go in tomorrow and do that thing and present, talk, converse, facilitate, lead, whatever it is, because of the preparation, right? So that's what you want to do with your life in every area, is prepare as you grow and be intentional in every area of your life so that you can grow. So I hope that was helpful for you. And it's called The 15 Invaluable Laws of Growth. That's the book with John C. Maxwell. And that mastermind class is going to be coming up on August 29th. You can click the link below. I'll put in the description box so that you can be able to register. And it's thanksform.com/growth, because you want to grow. You want to grow until you go. I love you guys. Take care. Shalom. Share, like, comment if this helped you, help someone else, and share the video.